start with the game. What stuck out to you about the latest Niners loss?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of more of the same types of issues that we'd seen all season just get exacerbated times two because it was such a must-win game against a team that, frankly, is not very good. The defense, once again, played out of their mind. I mean, for Robert Saleh, to give him credit, like, if there's one thing that should be put on his coaching resume, however bad Dwayne Haskins and Alex Smith were in that game, the last three drives, for him to go three straight 3-and-outs without Fred Warner on the field, that was a coaching clinic. That was phenomenal. They kept putting the offense back in position. I mean, Nick Mullins, it's the same conversation we've talked about. Like, I don't think he played terrible. Like, he had a bad game in terms of his stats, but he played similar. I just felt that the turnovers were the big problem, and he's been kind of turning over the ball. But otherwise, it was just a rough game. It once again highlighted the importance of Deebo Samuel. I think it would have truly been a different game on offense if Deebo Samuel was there to be able to win the edges and run the ball that way. But it's overall, it's just a lot of issues confounded into one big issue that we'll talk about throughout this show. And that's the fact that the Niners, it's something we brought up when they blew the Miami game, and everybody thought the season was over then. It's the fact that they tried to rebuild something that didn't work last year the same exact way. And they didn't address issues that were there last year because they thought they could cover them up the same exact way they did last year. And, last year had a bunch of details, a bunch of my favorite word, nuance, that didn't happen this year. And that's why they are in the position they're in. Because, we're going to get into it, right?
We're going to get into it. Yeah.
We're going to talk about injuries and all those things that were totally out of their control. But there were a few things that were in their control this season that they screwed the pooch on.
And we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to stick with the game. And you said something really interesting about Deebo. Let's talk about Deebo. And then James Foster has a question about Jimmy G potentially taking a pay cut. James, we're going to get to you next. And then we're going to dive into what we basically have set out. But what I want to say about Deebo is he's so important to this offense. It's like when he's healthy, you were right. I mean, when he's healthy, not only does he make life easy on the quarterback in all the obvious ways, but he makes life easy on the offensive line. Yep. They don't have to block. The ball is instantly thrown out to the perimeter, and the blockers are the wide receivers, the tight ends. Maybe a tackle has to get out there and lead the way, but that's it. So when Deebo went down, all of a sudden it's like, well, now you guys have to play like conventional football, and you don't have the quarterbacks, the offensive line, either one to pull it off. Deebo's that important. And so what I'll say is when he went down in the first play of the game, it was like, well, they're screwed. But also, can they count on Deebo Samuel moving forward? He's important, but he's had these issues going back to college. Going into the offseason, it's like, do we just get him healthy, or do we hedge our bets here in some way?
So that's the real question, right? So for me, going back, like, he protects everybody, even the running backs. Like, this is not, they don't have a Dalvin Cook where if you block a play for 2 yards and you're running in between the tackles, he's going to get 7. They don't have that kind of running back. Everything is built around the fact that Deebo Samuel in motion creates fear. Deebo Samuel with the ball in the perimeter wins the edge. Deebo Samuel sets a physical tone to the game with the way he plays. So everything is built around that. And it's kind of the Dee Ford situation, right? Because the pass rush, like, everybody thinks it's so easy to move off of Dee Ford. Well, guess what? If we were to rank the 10 best players when healthy on the 49ers tomorrow, Dee Ford still makes that list. He's one of the 10 best players on this team when he's healthy.
He's just not healthy.
Right. And so they can move off of him and stuff, but then there'll be a point where they need him and they don't have a Dee Ford replacement. So then do they have to spend draft capital maybe to draft a guy like Darius Toney on Florida who's similar to Deebo, and so that you have a Deebo replacement the way the Chiefs have with Mecole Hardman just kind of waiting in the wings with Tyreek Hill? Well, that's the million-dollar question. I think you can maybe give Deebo one more year. The thing that bothers me with Deebo is the reason Deebo Samuel went in the second round is because Deebo Samuel had hamstring problems in college, and that's 2 hamstring injuries this year. Hamstring is a very, very touchy area of the body. Who knows if that's just going to keep getting hurt for Deebo. I don't want to write him off in terms of injuries. I want to give him one more year. But I think that it's definitely something that you have to look into because it's a real problem.
Real quick, before we move off Deebo, it's an interesting topic to me because to me, by about, I want to say, midway through last season, the offense was kind of built around him.
Mm-hmm.
And really, he became the catalyst, as you pointed out, the MVP, and everything was about getting the ball in his hands and letting him be a playmaker.
Right.
Can you build an offense around Deebo Samuel? When he's healthy, the answer is hell yes. You can build a championship offense around him. But is he durable enough? Because if he all of a sudden, if you can't count on Deebo Samuel, now the whole offense that you built around him doesn't work. And you got to go back to playing conventional football, which your offensive line and quarterback can't really pull off. You know, like if you, so that's what I'm saying.
So you've thrown out the comparison for Deebo, right? Percy Harvin.
Same thing.
The Vikings did it for 6 games with Percy Harvin. It was one of the early years when he was back, 2012. MVP candidate.
They beat the Niners.
Yeah, first 6 games of the season, MVP candidate. And then Percy
Harvin.
He
made Christian Ponder look good.
Right. And then he got hurt.
Yes.
So that's going to be the question. Maybe I think if you get a better quarterback in, then maybe you're a little less reliant on Deebo Samuel. But then at the end of the day, this run game, like with Mostert, Wilson, and the way these offensive linemen are, these smaller, quicker offensive linemen in space, like you need Deebo Samuel to be an integral part of the run game. And Kyle Shanahan talked, even in his presser, he said, I'm always trying to run the ball. Well, if you're always trying to run the ball, you got to run the ball starting with Deebo Samuel to build your entire run game. So it's kind of
and he did that. He did that again this past game. So it's like, oh, good call. So all I'm saying is it's interesting. It's kind of on Deebo now. If you have a hamstring issue, then maybe you need to lose 5 pounds or 10 or something. Maybe you need to warm up better. There is something about your process that's not ideal. Fix it. Or you're going to really keep hurting this team because it's built around you. You mask all their weaknesses.